Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Wednesday, December 11th, 2013. For our first article today, Bitcoin made the cover of Time magazine. Okay, and the question is this a contrarian indicator that it's not a good buy time, or is this an indicator that Bitcoin is finally considered legitimate? I don't know. Hard to tell. Toss a coin, but I don't think you can toss a Bitcoin, so you might have to toss, a Federal Reserve quarter or something. And more information on Bitcoin here from Max Kaiser, Financial War Reports. As predicted, JP Morgan will try to stop Bitcoin with a patent lawsuit. And Max Kaiser has two different articles about Bitcoin and JP Morgan. One is, could a patent lawsuit take down Bitcoin exchanges? And the other, JP Morgan Chase building Bitcoin killer. So we kind of knew, right, that as soon as any of these cryptocurrencies began to take hold and gain any kind of traction, that the bankers would go after them. And here they are. The bankers are going after Bitcoin. JP Morgan is going after Bitcoin. So hold on to your hats. And if you're riding the Bitcoin Bronco, and if not, I don't know. It's definitely a significant development, and I believe that at some point, anything like Bitcoin or Bitcoin is going to actually be able to just push through this and eliminate the bankers as we know them today. Not a moment too soon, as far as I'm concerned. And speaking of bankers, World Netly is an article, Central Bankers Controlling U.S.-Iran Talks. And it is a question, but there is some indication that it might be so. And of course, we know that typically anything significant that is taking place on the world scale is probably being influenced by bankers, so no big surprise here. Here from the Wall Street Journal is an article, Indian Court Reinstates Law Banning Gay Sex. And there were a lot of tweets about this, and certainly an article. But this is an interesting development. And I'm not anti-gay. I do believe what the Bible says about homosexual relations, that they're not what God has created us for. But I don't hate gays by any stretch of the imagination. But I do believe that once a culture begins to see the family being threatened by other developments and realizes the historical significance of the family, this kind of move is inevitable. And here is an article that's, it's not actually an article, it's just kind of a blurb on RT.com. Lawmakers announce budget deal to avert another U.S. government shutdown. At first glance, that probably seems like good news, but some freedom fighters, some people who are working to restore the republic have, I think, been hoping that there would be another shutdown, that the government, that the U.S. corporation would finally reach the end of their funding and be forced to surrender and no longer perpetuate the deception that they are the actual U.S. Republic, which they're not. They are not the constitutional republic. They are a corporation that was formed to replace the republic. So again, the hope is that the republic would be forced to file bankruptcy, run out of money, surrender, and that evidently is not going to come about in January, the next deadline for the budget. They're working on a deal here because they don't want to give up. They don't want to lose their power. Surprise, surprise. And here from Ben Swan, South Carolina could lead the nation by nullifying Obamacare. And this is the kind of move that is necessary. If we can't quickly get rid of the U.S. corporation in one fell swoop, we are all going to have to begin to draw lines and not permit some things to happen, and using the law inside the context of law. And that is certainly what South Carolina is moving to do, so setting a good example for the rest of us. And here's an interesting article from RT. Data sharing among U.S. law enforcement agencies is in chaos. And, it's been a free-for-all, I think. The first paragraph here, the sharing of intelligence among American law enforcement agencies in the wake of September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks is being conducted in a manner that resembles organized chaos, according to a new study published this week. And I do believe that there is going to continue to be mounting pressure to require accountability and to not be permitted to just randomly use all of our personal data however they desire, however they deem acceptable. And another article from RT, Fox News paid former executive $8 million for silence. Well, at least they didn't kill him, right? I mean, he must have taken precautions and had sealed envelopes with attorneys that would be opened in the event of his death or something. But he has been given $8 million to keep quiet. Here it says to keep quiet about the inner workings of the secretive news organization. So I'd say that's a sellout. It would be great if he would go on Alex Jones or be a guest on a show at Coast to Coast, whatever, and share his knowledge and benefit all of us by exposing the news media for what they are. But he's not going to do that. So we'll have to find out some other way, right? From BBC News, Uruguay becomes the first nation to legalize marijuana trade. And as Cynthia McKinney tweeted or said on Facebook, I'm not really sure where I saw it, but she said, in a move against the CIA, the Uruguay people legalize marijuana trade. So yeah, that is a move against the CIA, and more power to them. Zero Hedge has an interesting article that I thought would be good accompaniment for that one. Uruguay legalizes pot trade, but who uses the most? And here from Common Dreams, Obama's corporate agenda delayed as TPP misses deadline. I think any of us who are aware of the TPP and the implications of this can sigh a sigh of relief. However, this is not obviously a permanent fix. This is just a deadline missed. And as this blurb says, negotiators fail to close deal amid revelations of internal discord over U.S. corporate bullying. So we can keep speaking out against TPP, keep praying, and continue to hope that it will not be implemented. I don't think anybody who understands what it is wants it, and that includes people in other countries. So just more bad news if it were to be implemented, and it's not going to be implemented for the time being. So that's good news. Here's an article from Washington's blog. Is the NSA blackmailing its overseers in Washington? It's really going to be tough to get rid of the NSA because this probably is the case. And anyone who has the power or authority to get rid of the NSA is subject to being spied on by them and being blackmailed by them. So there's not an easy answer here unless we do have a restoration of the constitutional republic. and are free from the U.S. corporation masquerading as the constitutional republic. So we're all hoping, I'm sure, that somehow the NSA will be done away with, but in light of this, it's certainly not going to be easy, or likely not a quick process. From myfoxnewyork.com, Gulf nations to create joint military command. And the first paragraph here: Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and its Gulf Arab neighbors wrapped up a summit meeting in Kuwait on Wednesday by agreeing to establish a joint military command, paving the way for tighter security coordination even as their regional rival Iran pursues outreach efforts in the wake of its interim nuclear deal. This is, good news and not so good news. I think it's good news because, as we've heard, the U.S. is not so quick. The Pentagon will not support actions in the Middle East as readily as they have in the past. So the U.S. is not as involved as we once were, and I'm hoping that that's true, and this is kind of evidence that that is the case. However, just the fact that anybody is amping up any kind of military in that region of the world is not really something that we can get excited about. So, let's pray for peace. And here is a bit of rather good news from Natural News. Freshwater breakthrough as huge aquifers discovered beneath the ocean floor. And as we've heard, I saw an article the other day. I didn't put it in the news because it seems a little more fearful than what I actually believe is reality, but I think there were 11 cities in the U.S. that it's anticipated that they will have severe water problems within the next, 10 or 20 years. And it didn't make sense to me because one of the cities was Cleveland, and Cleveland is located on the shores of Lake Erie, and I can't imagine them not being able to have access to enough fresh water. Another reason why I didn't put the article up. It just did not make sense to me. But that is a fear that is getting rolled out everywhere, that we don't have enough fresh water, that we're going to run out of water. And this article is at least something that speaks to the fear. And there are other solutions, not just finding new sources of water in the earth, but how we use water. And I've mentioned this before, Reclamator.com. This isn't something I'm affiliated with. It's just something that I believe in. Although I don't have it in my home. I think it costs about $20,000 to install in a home. But you can purify and reclaim 100% of all sewage from your home or business. And this isn't turning it into gray water. This is turning it into completely pure, drinkable water that actually is far healthier than most tap water. And this is just a tremendous idea. And the people who have developed this have had tremendous struggles. They've spent time in jail because of the threat that this is to municipalities who make a lot of money from water and sewer proceeds. But they're not upholding the Clean Water Act of, I think it was 1972, and they're operating in defiance of that law, which is on the same level as constitutional law. So it's a very serious breach of law. One that a law that I do happen to agree with, and I do believe in taking care of the earth. I don't believe the earth's main problem is CO2 emissions, but there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. Certainly clean water is one of them. And there is a lot of hope, and that's why I put this website in the news today, because there are many, many technologies that can permit us to live better lives, not a lower standard of living, a higher standard of living, for all of the people of the earth without sacrificing the environment. And this is one of them. So with that, thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and insist on liberty.